Hi, my name's Hamish Sinclair-Ross. I'm the Application Manager responsible for MineSched, and today I'm going to be talking about the upcoming MineSched 2023 release. We've got two main themes that we have covered in the release. The first one is haulage for surface operations, and the second is a more efficient way to manage large amounts of data, especially at operational mine sites. So I'll first get started on the haulage improvements. So we've made a lot of effort to make the haulage process more practical, and I'll take you through what we've done. So if we have a look at the roads tab here, there's a couple of new columns to consider. There's a road type and a priority. You'll also see some new nodes that we'll talk about in a minute. If we move to the collections tab, we've got a new section here for road collections. Now, the feedback we had from customers was that the single rolling resistance value when rim pull and retarding tables were set up, only having one rolling resistance value was quite limiting. So effectively all roads were treated the same, which in reality is not what happens. So the point for this work was to allow a lot more flexibility with how we set up our roads and what values we use for rolling resistance. So I've put in a range of conditions here. So I've got a sealed value, which would be pretty consistent. But we also know that conditions change during the year. In Australia, we generally factor in, especially the northern parts of Australia, we factor in a wet and dry season. So we've got an example here. So I'm going to change the rolling resistance value during the year for the wet and dry season, and we can use this option here to apply this every year. So we set the dates that this process starts. So when you want the wet season to start and then the dry season to change over, that will be applied every year during the scheduling process. So you only have to set this up the one time. You can make this, you could have 4 seasons in here, whatever you want to do, that will be applied each year for the duration of the schedule. Just very quickly, if we head across to the bench collections tab, there is one additional improvement that's been made here, which I think is worth calling out. The feedback we had from our customers was that when rim pull values are used for our bench roads, they're generally going to be flat. So what that means is the trucks will travel at full speed for loaded and unloaded through to and from the point where the block is, which is not reality. That's not what's going to happen. So we've got an option here to override the rim pull retarding velocities for these bench collections. So you can put in whatever you wish it to be. So a defined value that you can use along with the rim pull and retarding process. So once you've got these roads set up and you've got as much detail as you want, we can go back to the roads tab and we can apply these for each road, bench roads or haul roads. We can now define what the condition is. And obviously the seasonal changes are going to apply, which will add a lot more practicality to the process. All right, so the second major point that we've worked on is the automation of haulage route definition. So these nodes are going to represent the intersection between haul roads. Now the way to get this to come up when you open up MineSched 2023 for the first time with an existing scenario is to use the refresh tool. So you use the refresh tool, the road network will be evaluated and those nodes will appear. Now if there isn't a intersection point, we can use the search radius tool to widen the search to make sure we do capture the right node points between intersection of roads to make sure that this is going to work appropriately. We've got a priority rule in here now that will go in collaboration with this. If there's a particular road that you wish to use, when the automatic haulage process is working, one particular road that you wish to use above others, then you can set a higher priority for it, and that's going to preference that road during the scheduling process. So we head across to the haulage routes definition tab. So we've got the existing one, and for those who've used it, you will know that the process to set up the haulage routes can be quite finicky and time consuming. you actually have to then figure out which road goes first, second, third, etc., etc. So for a large operation, this process can be quite time consuming and tricky to do to get the order right, and it's very easy to make a mistake, and that makes the mistake becomes quite difficult to troubleshoot afterwards. So the way we've moved forward with this to work around it is to automate it. So using the node network that's been set up, and the only inputs we really need is what the destination road for each of our material movement rules. Just needs to define what the destination road is, what the truck is, and then turn it on. And if we go across the material movement tab, we no longer need to pick the haulage route to apply. It automatically gets recognized, and that's all you need to do. So when the haulage schedule is run, each block will be evaluated from this node network, and we know there for each block where the block needs to go, and it will follow the least distance path. So that's the options used at the moment, and there will be an opportunity in the future to further extend this functionality to include other evaluation criteria, because often there's going to be situations where the shortest distance is not necessarily the best haulage path. So there's definitely room to improve, but we think this is going to save customers a lot of time, and it's going to make it more practical to use as a legitimate haulage scheduling process. Now, the second major feature I want to talk about is the new ability to link MineSched through to a range of data sources. So the management of data is a really important consideration when you're building a tactical mine plan, especially at an operating mine site. So you could have maintenance databases to factor in, you could have productivity information that you want to build in. The list can be extensive, and doing that manually within MineSched had certainly become an onerous and time-consuming process. So the feedback we had from our customers was, we want to be able to create links to existing databases and push that data in. So ultimately, we want a single source of truth for our tactical mine planning process. So we've really focused on this particular topic for the release, and I'll take you through what we've done. So at the top of the screen, you'll see there's a new option for data sources. So when selected, you have the option to have as many different data sources being referenced as you desire. So the two options there are via CSV file, which is easy to create, easy to manage, or via ODBC. So that's the more traditional databases there that are managed from a range of sources. So this could be calendar databases, it could be maintenance, equipment maintenance, and the like. If that database connection or the database is set up in a way that has all the required inputs, then it is a straightforward process to create that connection. So we've got an existing database that's been set up, and we'll have a look at this process. So there's actually a range of different areas within MineSched that it's now possible to create a connection for. So we've got the resources, so the production resources, we've got the capacity and rates, and importantly, the calendars. So the calendar process can be automated. So when you've selected the table that you wish to link to, you pick the table, and it must have a resource. They're the mandatory fields, and the rest of them, you put as much or as little information as you choose. So once you've mapped all the table values, the process to push it into MineSched is very simple. You just use the refresh tool. Now, this process of setting up the calendars within MineSched like this, it could take half an hour or even longer to do properly. This is done in seconds, and the linkages are automatically made to each of the production resources as well. So I quickly validate that everything is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and when you're happy with it, you're good to go. So this workflow can be replicated right through the key functions in MineSched. That list can be automated. It's a single source of truth. It's a significant time saver, and what it's going to do is going to be enabling the mine planner to really focus on validating the schedule and fine-tuning the inputs rather than worrying about managing all that data that often you need to be concerned about when you're coming up with a tactical mine plan. So just in summary, we're really driving MineSched to be more practical. On haulage is such an important topic. Haulage scheduling is really important. So we're continuing that journey to improve the haulage solution. And we think that the data sources is going to be a huge step forward for operating mine sites to be able to manage all that data very effectively from a single source of truth and really enable the mine planner to focus on the practicalities and the creating robust schedules, which is really what the focus should be rather than managing lots of data. All right, so thanks for your time. The MineSched 2023 can be downloaded from 3ds.com. Thanks a lot.